Hey my beautifuls, this is Penny from Penny in Your Pocket. I have got a new update that we have done to our Flix yoga theme, so I wanted to walk you through that. But first up, what is the Flix yoga theme? If you are new to Kajabi, this is a product theme. A product theme is where you house your courses or your resources or your information, and can also be used for a membership area as well. But essentially, it's a theme that you would attach to a product that you've created inside your Kajabi account. So this is one of mine, and it's called the Flix Yoga. We have two different versions in the Flix theme. We have the Flix Slider theme, and then we also have the Flix Yoga. Just keep in mind that just because this has been set up as a yoga demonstration site, it could be used for absolutely anything at all. So it doesn't just have to be yoga. Any type of business that you have, imagine your images, your colors, your branding as we're having a little squeeze at it and see if it might work for what you have. Okay, so let's dive in. Now I'm actually going to show you behind the scenes with all the different admin and the different functions and styling options that you have with this theme, as opposed to me walking you through the front end, because you're able to dive in and do a demonstration of this yourself, seeing the actual front end. So you'll get to see all this if you sign up for the demo, and that way you'll see it as your student or your members would see it. But what you don't get to see is all the admin and the options that you have behind the scenes. So that's what this video is about, just to give you a little walkthrough to show you the various components that you have control over and what you can and can't change. Alrighty, so let's dive into the back. So if you have used a Kajabi product theme before, some of this is going to be familiar to you. So this is actually built on top of Kajabi's momentum framework. So Kajabi has a momentum product theme, which is quite plain. And what we've done is up-leveled it and added some extra functionality to it. So let me walk you through it. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to come in here and you're going to be in the sections area, and we're going to be on what is called the product page, which is really the home page or the dashboard where your people first land. So of course you're going to want to make this beautiful, full of all the information that your students and members are going to need in order to navigate your course. So navigation title, this is simply where they would click over here. Then want to go back to the library. So the idea being that you have complete control over the language in here as well. So if you don't want to call it library, you want to call it something else, or your course is delivered in a different language, then this is the place that you would go to make those changes. Okay. So the left-hand menu, what am I talking about? The left-hand menu, that is, let me just move my head out of the way. That is this here. Okay, so this is our left-hand side menu, which is conveniently hidden so that it doesn't get in the way of being able to see the full visuals of the screen that you have in front of you. Okay, so you can open it, you can close it, and then you get to design this left-hand side menu in terms of what you want to put in here, the colors, how it looks, that sort of thing. So we have the option to have what's called the accordion on or off. Accordion meaning when I click on one of these, it drops down like a little accordion. So it zips open and then zips back up again, depending on what you've clicked, and that works for sub-modules as well as the top module, okay, which is what we've just clicked on there. So that's what this means. So basically it says, do you want to turn it on or do you want to turn it off? So if we have it off, I'll just refresh that. This is what it would look like, and this is what Kajabi's normal momentum theme always looks like. Essentially it just turns it off, and basically all of the items become open. So, but for the purpose of this, we're going to turn it on because it's much nicer when it's all zipped up. Alrighty. Now you also have the option to what we call show the arrow icon. Do you want to show the left-hand side menu always? And do you want to show the extra links below your categories? What do I mean by all of that? So let's quickly have a look. So the arrow I'm talking about is this arrow here. So when we click on the arrow, it takes you directly into the category page itself. Okay. If you didn't have the arrow there, then what happens is your people can't get into the modules as easily. So just something to keep in mind. Some people don't want them to be able to click into the categories. So if you don't have that arrow, what they would do is they would click to open the menu, and then they would click straight into a lesson. Okay, and then once they're on the lesson page, then they can open it back up again. If the arrow is not there, they would then have to go through and open these up to see the lesson that they want to go to, that kind of thing in terms of navigation. You also have the ability to have what we call breadcrumbs up here, so they're able to click on these breadcrumbs and then go out to the individual areas. So whether they go back to the categories page, they can go back to home page, they can go to a submodule page, that kind of thing. So there's a lot of different ways to be able to set up the navigation in this, which is why we love the momentum theme so much, because the navigation is really cool. Like, there's so many different ways that you can actually help your people find things that they need. Okay, so that's what that is about, but just showing you that you have complete control how you want that left-hand side menu to look. So likewise, if you want to have it always on, you can see now that even in our back end preview mode that we're working in, it's now automatically got this open. So that means that left hand side menu is always there. They don't have to go and tick on the little box to say, oh, bring it out, and then they have to close it up. Some people prefer it to have it always there so that it's less clicks for your students. Some people, if you're running something like a really super visual course and it's more about the images and the design on the page, they like to have it hidden. So totally up to you. Okay, what else have we got? So as well as that, you can also you have a little bit of control over the font size. So again, just styling options in here. You can control how big or small you want those fonts to appear. Now, this is the cool part. You get to build in content blocks. So content blocks, meaning you can add them into this sidebar here. You can add an image, you can add a video, and you can add a text block. And then within those, you also get to style them. So you can change the background color, you can change the border radius of it, the border color, you can have a border around it, you can have some extra padding around it so that it comes in a little bit more, or you can make it flush, you can add a border, like all of this. We'll just sort of go through all the different motions, and then of course you can hit save. So you can see you've got a few different styling options anyway, okay? What might you use something in here for? So what I've seen, which was really cool, maybe you have an upsell. So because this theme, instead of having what used to be called the right-hand sidebar, which was always running down the side on the home page, where we could put in extra things, like maybe you wanted to have an upsell that was permanently there on the home page, you're now able to add those sorts of items into the menu area, which means they can get to that from any page within this theme. It doesn't just have to be the home page, because of course the menu is either always open no matter what page you're in, or you can always close it, open it, etc. So just a lot more flexibility in terms of what you can and can't put inside these particular areas. So that was kind of really cool. You can add images. You could even put special links in there. So say if you did have a text block in there and you wanted to create links that led out to particular pages or lessons that were super, super important, and you wanted them to always have access to that, like maybe there was a special resource lesson and you just want a direct link to the lesson without them having to click through, you can use a text block for that. You can actually create a text block, and you would go in here and you would say, okay, these are go to the resource page, something like this. Okay, and then you would just grab that, and then you would add your link in there, and then that's something that they would then be able to be taken to. Alrighty, so I just wanted to show you there's lots of different things that you can actually use those blocks for, but that is all part of the left hand side menu. Header, all of my custom themes have a header. It's pretty standard in that logo in there, a menu that you go and create in your navigation area under your website first. So you can have that added in there. You can put a search in there, and we'll pop out to have a look at what that search looks like. So you can actually have a search bar that sits in here, and if you click on this, it opens it up, and then you're able to type in your terms and do a search. Okay, and then it pulls up all of the items that have that in there. So that is being able to add a search bar, use a menu, so you can have that which is there so people are able to get into their library easy, like get into their own settings, that kind of thing. Alert announcements you can have in there, and call to action buttons, which is what we see here. Okay, so this is a button. You can also change this around if you prefer to have it stacked. So you can also create this kind of look where the logo sits at the top and then that sits below, or otherwise you go back to inline. So that was the header. The search bar we've just covered, which is up here, and you can change the appearance of that, styling the background, colors, that sort of thing. And also, again, you can change the language, what it's going to say. Welcome message and progress. So this is this section here, all right? So you might decide that if this is a membership area or even just a resource area, and it's not even a course, that it's not going to make sense to have the progress for a course, like the percentages, how much someone has completed, do you need the resume the course button, that kind of thing. So you can actually choose to hide all of those items, and then you won't see any progress relating to anything to do with the course and how you're doing, i.e. the progress, okay? It all disappears. Likewise, you can also hide the welcome bar completely. You might not want that there. It may not be necessary for what you're doing, okay? So I'm just going to turn this back on for now. Again, you have options to style it. You also have language functionality or options in there to change the language. Community widget, this is great. This is something that Kajabi have now given us access to, meaning we can bring in our community product as a drop down within our product. So let's have a quick look how that might work. So if we click on the community button, it will open up, and this is a chat which goes directly into a circle of your choice. Circle meaning a circle inside your community product. Okay, so that's pretty cool. So now they don't actually have to even leave their product. They're able to just quickly open up this community forum, dive in here and add a question or answer someone else's question, that kind of thing. Or they can click on it and then it will actually take them out into the community as well. But it's great because it's all actually now built into the course area. Okay, so that is the community dashboard section. So both of these sections are pretty much the same. Okay, now what this is, these are the areas that you get on the home screen or the dashboard, and you can design these however you want. So you have text blocks, and again, you are able to apply shadow, background colors. You can make it go the full width of the screen. You can change this to however you want, and you can also alter the text alignment. So not a whole lot of styling options, but you've got some to make it look and feel, I guess, how you want it to look. So video, we've got all that in there as well. And the other one that we can add in here is an image. So image, text, and video blocks are in dashboard section 1. In dashboard section 2, and really there's no difference between these. You could just use all of one or all of the other. It doesn't really matter. But in these ones, you've also got the ability to add a card. So a card is a great one to be able to use for an upsell, maybe some kind of a bonus lesson or something that you wanted to be able to put out on the homepage that you want front and center for people to be able to access. Okay, so you would upload an image. You can have the image, if they click on it, link out to somewhere else or not. And we now have the ability with a rich text editor in here to be able to style this, whereas previously in Kajabi's momentum themes, if you go to add a card, there is no rich text editor, and it was pretty stock standard, and we couldn't alter it or design it or style it in any way, shape or form. So now we can do that. We also have the options for shadows, colors, that sort of thing. Alrighty, and then we have a footer as well. A footer, this footer only appears on the home page, but you do have some options in there. Okay, so then if you dive into the settings, these are pretty much the same. Favicon, typography, so you can change the paragraph body font size, which you can't in the other momentum theme. The color scheme, you've got lots of options in here to be able to change the colors to things. So it really matches your branding and your style. Slide out menu, that's this one here. So again, you get to change the colors and to make it suitable for your needs. Custom code, yes. Everybody likes having a custom code block because it means if you have any extra styling that you want to add to it to give it your own little flair, then you're able to add it in here. And of course, and you can always reach out to me as well if you get stuck with any of that, and I can give you some assistance to actually add extra code in there. All right, and we have one for embedded scripts as well. Categories and post settings, this is the fun part. So what are we talking about here? So you may have noticed that within the Flix theme, instead of it being what we deem to be called rows, where you would just have like a tiny little thumbnail and then a whole lot of text, that was the original Momentum theme, how it used to work. This one is done in tiles, which are these nice big colorful tiles. So it's very visual. Now you can control how many you want, 3 or 4 columns. So obviously if we were to pick 4, then those tiles drop down in size. Okay, so we can see now they get smaller, but that just means you end up with more on the one page. So if you have a really big course or a really big resource area, that may work in your favor so that people aren't having to scroll because you've actually got 4 in a row. Colors, you can change the colors for these tiles. Same with the font sizes. Now, something else that people have asked in the past, which was a great idea, because it is so visual and you have access to putting in your own thumbnails, some people would prefer to have the thumbnail or the image show the title for whatever that lesson or the module is. So we have the ability for you to hide the category tiles. So if I was to tick that, then it basically removes them all together. And so then that the only thing you see are your beautiful images. So that was an option. And then you can also do the same for the lessons as well, if you prefer to do that. Okay, so that was some styling options there. Background images, we get to add in, you can see there's this nice background image for the homepage, okay? But you also can choose for the category pages. If we just click into the category page here, you can also have a background image set to go behind there, or you can also use the category thumbnail image, i.e. so say if you were to choose that, then whatever your category image is, so this one was like this lady doing a yoga move here, that is what would appear behind that category. So you have 2 options, or you can not use any image at all and just stick to a plain background color. That was that one. Extra sidebar links. What are we talking about? I'm talking about when we click over here, we can see that we have these 2 extra links here. We have a Facebook group and we have tests. So basically these are separate individual links that you can link out to other external areas from your program or for whatever it is in your product that you need to put an external link for. Like a community, as in Facebook group, or maybe this is like a mini course and you want it to link out to a bigger course, and then vice versa, the bigger course could then link back to this one. So it's kind of another cool way to be able to join courses together as well. So you could use that as an extra link here, which maybe you have like a main category or something that's set in another product, so you can use it to link out to that too. Lots of different things you can use it for. Visibility. So there's lots of different options in here. So we have this video duration. You can hide or show it. So you can see here on the video lessons. Some of you may not want to have the video duration, so you can tick it, untick it. You can have the show lesson done, tick on a thumbnail. What am I referring to? So if you have already completed that lesson, it will show up with a tick to say, hey, you've already done it. But again, you may not want to have that there, so you get to decide whether you have it or not. Show category description on the homepage card. So what do I mean by that? So if I was to tick this, you will see what that does. So if you had a description for each of your categories, then it is going to show the description under here. Now, obviously, to make these look, you would do all or nothing. So you wouldn't just have a couple that don't have any description. You would say, right, I'm either using descriptions or I'm not. And they're all going to have a description or they're not. And that way they're all going to look nice and neat and all the same. Okay, so that's what we mean by that, whether you want to show those descriptions on there or not. Do you want to show the search in the left-hand sidebar? So we actually have 2 search areas in here. We have one that sits over here and then we have another one that sits there. So if you wanted to show the search in the left-hand sidebar as well, just to give people another option when they're searching, or if they have the menu open and it's easier for them to actually pop it in here. If we open this up, you can see we now also have a search bar that's over there. So lots of different spots for people to be able to find things. So we're going to turn that off for now. Show next and previous. So again, Depending on the content that you have, this may not make any sense at all to have a next and previous button. Like, what if it is seriously, it's just a handful of resources and they don't need to sort of like move between them all and click the next and previous? Well, again, you have the option to hide that if you don't need it. Same with if you don't want to have any comments in the theme, you can hide all the comments. You don't have to have the community on either. Like I did sort of, maybe I didn't go over that, but in the community over here, you can actually hide that altogether. You don't need to have that on. Favorites. So this has always been a big ask. So what are favorites? So if we click on the favorites button, we now have a favorites page. So what happens with this is, let's just say that you have been working through your lessons and you've gone into one of them and you go, you know what, I really like this one. This is a good one. I'm going to mark it as a favorite. So if I was to go into that lesson, you'll see now that the star has been highlighted in dark blue, whereas the one that hasn't been favorited isn't highlighted. Okay, so when we pop back out to the submodule, I can see as well that I also have the option to star them or favorite them from this page as well. And then once they're starred and I click on favorites, they'll then appear over here. Okay, so you can actually kind of create your own pathway, like a learning pathway. Maybe people want to go through and actually choose the items that they're going to be needing within this resource area or membership or whatever it is. So there's kind of a few options that you could use this for as well. But this basically just says, hey, do you want to show the favorites in the sidebar? And what do I mean by that? So we also have a button here. Okay, so my favorites. Okay, so and that will lead out to that. Alrighty, so that is the my favorites. That's our visibility. Lesson settings. We have a few different options in here. So when we're actually in a lesson, you can control the styling around the video. You can control how narrow or wide you want the content, the body content. If you have text, which is what all of this is here, you get to decide where you want the lesson post action bar. So what do I mean by that? This here is what we call the action bar, and some people prefer to actually have that running straight underneath the video. So again, you have the option to move that. You can control the colors around that, as well as downloads button that we have. If you want the downloads button to stand out, just thinking what one I've got that actually has downloads. There you go. So some people have been saying that the downloads are hidden and no one ever knows where they are. So this way you can highlight it, make it stand out. Page styling. Do you want to show a thumbnail in text only lessons? So what do I mean by that? Well, what if not all of your lessons have a video? If they don't have a video and they're just mainly text, then it would be up to you to actually go and add images in the text area, like in the body copy area. Otherwise, it's literally just going to be text. Like obviously these have got a couple of video images in here which have been put inside the text area. But what if you don't want to do that? So you get to tick this box here and basically it says, hey, if there is no video, let's just do this, then we want you to put whatever thumbnail that we've used, we want you to show that. So that way you wouldn't necessarily need to put an image in the text body copy area. Okay, so that's what that one means. Lesson heading position. Do you want it to be at the very top of the page? Do you want it to be below the video? Do you want to show a text block at the end of every lesson? And this is a generic text block, so you can use it for anything at all. Whatever you can think of that is going to be beneficial, that you think your students or members should know. Basically on every single lesson that they're working through, maybe there's some instructions that you need to give them that, you know, and you want to repeat those lessons, you want to repeat it over and over again. Well, that's what this is for. So this block here, okay, so currently I just have it set to comments, you know, do you have any, because it sits above the comments, but normally we wouldn't have anything there at all. So it's entirely up to you what you use this block for, but at least you have the option there. Okay, so that's what that one's for. What else have we got? Video styling. So this one, we can make the video small, normal, or full width. So you can have a play around with that. Some people like it to be full width. And what do I mean full width? Like full width is literally the entire width of the page. Okay, so they're huge videos. And if you do that, just keep in mind, sometimes if you have any text or any copy at the bottom of them, it's really hard to see. People miss it because the video is so huge and they don't know to look underneath. So that's why we've sort of done it this way, to give you a little bit more of an option in here around this, like the size of the video. Same with the settings for the video. You can change the video play button. Do you want to show the video controls? So this was a big one as well, because some people do not want the video controls on there so that people can't fast forward a video. If you remove the controls, they have to watch it. They can't click through to the end and get that marked as complete until the video finishes. So if you hide the controls, they can't fast forward it. I mean, look, let's be honest, they can still walk away from the video. We can't force people to watch them, but it's just another thing that you can do to encourage people to watch the video. And you can also turn on autoplay, which is great if you have this set up, maybe like for meditations, or maybe it is yoga poses and someone is doing a series of moves and you just want to be able to go into one of these, like a module. Well, helps if we be in the module. So say you were in one of these, you were in the module, and then these were the lessons in there, so that once the first one is finished, you can have it set up so that it automatically moves to the next lesson, as well as automatically starts playing the next video, so that they don't actually have to get up and, you know, leave the position that they're on the floor, maybe to go and hit the laptop to go to the next lesson. It will just do it automatically, and that's what those controls are for there. Alrighty. Quiz styling. Oh, this has been a bit of an annoyance to a few of us, because Kajabi have, whilst they've given us the access to do quizzes, once again, we were extremely limited in terms of the styling, and they had it done in a way where there was like the heading was repeated twice, you couldn't hide things, and when you went to start now, you didn't have color, it was just like this plain white screen. So this way you've got a few options. We can't do a lot with it, but it's better than nothing, so I just wanted to point that out. And of course, language settings. Okay, so this is where you would go in, you have control over changing the language settings. There's so much more really to work through this, but we've already done half an hour. So I'll just quickly dive into the post page. So the options that you have in here, so this was where we looked at the breadcrumbs. So you can control the color, what the divider is, that sort of thing. And whether you want to show them or not, you might want to turn them off, totally up to you. So the action buttons was the other one. So this is where we can also hide the markers complete button. So again, if you're wanting people to finish a video, and you don't want them to cheat to be able to hide, you know, to mark it as complete, they have to actually watch the video, then you would hide it. Also, if it's just a resource area and they're going to be coming back to it over and over again, it may not make sense to have that button. So again, you can hide it. Alrighty. So that's pretty much the basics of the Yoga Flix theme. The best way to get a feel for it really is for you to dive in here and do a quick demo, like just sign up, have a play with it, go through it as a student so you can see how it works from a student's perspective. And then of course, if you've got any questions, feel free to reach out to me, but at least you now have the one up on what all of the different admin settings are and what you can and can't do with the theme. Alrighty, leaving it there, beautiful people. Enjoy the day in your part of the world, and I hope to see you soon.